Hi everyone, my name is Sophie, and today I wanted to talk to you about social exchange theory and the applications of social exchange theory in different contexts. Before I start talking about the applications, I thought I'd give you a quick summary of the theory and why I think it's worth applying in your life. People's relationships work as an economic exchange of costs and rewards, and the costs are the parts of the relationship that are negative, and the rewards are the costs that are not the cost. And the rewards are the positive aspects. And the relationship, the equation for the relationship basically goes the rewards minus the cost. It's what the worth of the relationship is. And this equation can help us figure out whether a relationship is worth pursuing or if it's gonna maybe end soon because the costs are just they might be completely outweighing the rewards. And what I really like about this theory is that it allows us to look at relationships which are typically full of emotions pretty objectively. When something is very emotional, it can be very difficult to look at objectively because emotions get in the way, of course. But when we can stand back and ask ourselves, what are the costs and rewards of this relationship, and whether the costs outweigh the benefits or vice versa, it can be very helpful in determining which relationships we believe are worth pursuing. The textbook that I actually used when I was doing some research for this is called Introducing Communication Theory, Analysis, and Application. And they make an argument against the utility of SET, or social exchange theory, because they claim it's not useful, and they argue that people are not as calculating, and generally not everyone is as socially aware or self-aware to come up with these costs and these rewards. And while I do think those two things are true, I don't think that we always look at aspects of our relationships as costs and rewards, but we do look at aspects of our relationships as positives and negatives. And like we might be thinking about a relationship and be like, I really appreciate this person's loyalty towards me, but that's a positive. But they're always so mean to my friends. That's a negative. You're identifying the positives. You're identifying a positive and negative. You're just not necessarily labeling it a cost and rewards, but it doesn't mean that you're not assessing what the worth of the relationship is. And secondly, if we are taught how to apply this theory, I think that we would be more self-aware. And that's the purpose of my videos. So I'm going to onto the applications to show you how you can apply it to your life and how you can view relationships from an outside. So I've actually done some introspective thinking for this, and I do find that I have used this theory in my own life. Unfortunately, I've had to apply this theory, and it did result in the terminating of a friendship. But I had a friend who I enjoyed being friends with. We had a lot of interests. We had a lot of same interests. We had just generally good time hanging out with each other. Pretty loyal to each other. We didn't go behind each other's backs or talk about anything. But she didn't treat my friends well. My other friends. She was very nice to me, but to my other friends, she made sly comments, and that created a lot of tension in our friendship because I was really uncomfortable with this. I don't want my other friends to be hurt, and I don't like hearing mean things about my other friends. And I perceive the cost of this relationship to be greater than the reward of, having someone who has a lot of interest to me. And I did decide to end that friendship amicably. The way that I applied this theory involves standing back and trying to look at the costs and the benefits and determining if those costs are worth it. If it's worth, listening to sly comments about my friends and feeling that tension and discomfort because I had a loyal friend, or, in order to have a loyal friend. It's not an easy choice to make, especially if you care about that person, but it's something that you have to evaluate because it could be potentially damaging to yourself or to other people. I think another application that I've found is based off my opinion that I think we have a very limited point of view based on what researchers have told us. So I tell you about this theory that I learned from researchers in a textbook. you might automatically go, yes, this can be applied to a friendship or a a relationship of any sort, of a relationship like a significant other or a friend. But this theory can be applied to many different circumstances. For example, Dr. Caitlin Porter of the Department of Psychology at the University of Houston writes, SET, social exchange theory, remains a practical and useful theoretical framework that can accommodate the modern workplace conditions and employee characteristics that influence whether and how work relationships are developed and sustained. And I think this is a really great application of SET because think about it like this. Now, this is not SET, but what I'm about to say is not an SET application, but it can help you kind of connect the dots. So, for example, you might have a job, and that job may pay really well, and but the workplace is dangerous, and you have a long commute. Perhaps you just, if you have the power to do so, you stop working there. You find a job closer to you, a place that's safer. Apply that logic to your workplace relationships. Apply those rewards and costs to a workplace relationship. So for example, this is an application of SET. If your boss is lazy and he doesn't offer safe working conditions, but perhaps he treats you nicely, those costs will outweigh, or to you they may outweigh the benefit that he treats you nicely. You may find that there's no worth in that relationship, and you might want to leave that job altogether, especially if this person, if it's your boss and that's not going to change, you're not going to be safe, or you feel that your boss is not contributing. You may want to just leave the job altogether because there's no point in keeping that relationship up. Another example can be between you and your coworker. Your coworker is an agreeable person. They're always willing to help, but perhaps she is from a different country and has different values and beliefs than you. And if those values and beliefs conflict with your values and beliefs, perhaps that makes you uncomfortable. And depending on how you feel about that cost and how heavy it may be, depending how uncomfortable you are or if it creates any tension, you may choose to end that friendship or that work relationship, or perhaps you may choose to end it altogether. Now that we have explored how SET can be used in friendships and in work relationships, let's consider just one more application. And I thought that for this application, we look at a big real life example. If you follow sports or you follow soccer, this might be familiar to you, but if you don't, I'm going to explain the situation. There's a player, his name is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and he recently left one of England's bigger clubs, Arsenal, after there were disputes with the manager. So Aubameyang originally played well under the coach, but their relationship over the last 2 years has basically soured, especially over the last year. And Aubameyang displayed less respect towards the coach, apart to the fact that he was scoring less, he was displaying a lot less respect, and the coach, Mikel Arteta, began to view him as a liability, as Aubameyang's influence could sway the locker room because he was a captain, and he was a good captain at that. And the coach also started displaying less respect towards him because of that. And eventually, Arteta decided to end their player-coach relationship, and he was sold this past January to another club. So we can see that this theory can be applied from an outside perspective, as an outsider looking into why something may have not lasted. For example, in this case, in the media, or with an athlete and their coach. What these applications of social exchange theory show us is that they can be applied to multiple contexts where there is a relationship present. Because relationships function as a two-way exchange. You may not be happy. You cannot be happily in a relationship where you are constantly losing while the other person is constantly reaping benefits from at your expense. So hopefully these applications will help you apply these theories to your own relationship and help you understand why relationships of others may not work out in the end. Any sources that I used in this video, I've cited in the description, and I really appreciate it that you made it this far into the video, and thank you for watching.